What's up guys? So in this video I'm basically going to be talking about 3 different practice methods that I use and just a little bit about why I use them and how they've helped me, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So my first practice method is just a cross plus 1 boot camp. I don't know why I call it a cross plus 1 boot camp. It's just probably because of JPerm's video that's just called cross boot camp. But yeah, it's probably my favorite practice method. It's very easy to do. It's very straightforward. All you do is take a regular scramble, look for a good cross plus 1, and then execute it. After you're done with that, if you're only white cross like I am, then you only need to solve F2L. But if you are color neutral or color dual or anything, then you will need to solve the rest of the cube. But then after that, you can just rinse and repeat, flip the cube over, white top, green front, scramble again, and just do the same thing all over again. So the main focus of this practice is to plan efficient cross and then be able to track your first 2 F2L pieces and be able to pick the right pairs to track in inspection faster and easier. Another big focus of this practice is execution, both in cross and improving the transition between cross and F2L, as well as just improving the flow from cross to F2L in general. Now obviously there are a few prerequisites to being able to do this, such as being able to plan efficient crosses and just being able to find them in general, being able to execute your cross fast because having a slow cross means that you're cross plus 1 entire, understanding how to track pieces in inspection in general, since you do need to be able to track both an edge and a corner and understand their orientations, as well as knowing full advanced F2L, since that means you'll be able to work with a lot more pairs. And also, you shouldn't really be trying to do cross plus 1 practice if you don't know full advanced F2L. In terms of how long I spend doing this, it's really not a huge amount of time that I have to carve out of my day. I mainly just do it if I don't really want to do solves, or doing solves is going to be a waste of time, and I just practice cross plus 1 because I have time or I can. And it's really not that difficult to do a whole lot if I just open a new session, because it's just using the regular 3x3 scrambles. If I'm using CS timer, I can just open a new session. Same with if I'm using KO timer on my phone, I can just open a new session and do cross plus 1 practice. So while the previous practice method is for cross plus 1, this next one is for F2L specifically, and all it is planning 2 pairs at once and then executing both of them. So the way this works is you pick a pair and you really just think of the solution. Before you even do any turns, you just think of all the moves you have to do and think of which slot it's going into. And then after that, you have 2 choices. You can either pick the next pair and plan where it's going to go. This might take some time at first, but you really want to go through the solution and try to figure out exactly where the other pieces are going to be and their orientation. And then after that, you close your eyes and then you can just execute both pairs. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do this every single time if you're just starting out, but either way, it's still helpful to be able to see where your second pair did end up, assuming you did the first pair correctly, and you can adjust in an actual solve or later in general. Now for the second option, if you really don't know where your pieces are going to end up after you do the first pair, you can pick another pair and then just kind of make a mental note of where they are, and then you can do the solution to the first pair and just check where they are after that. This practice technique mainly works on piece tracking, prediction, and really does help your F2L look ahead, but it's a little bit difficult if you don't have some familiarity with piece tracking or if you don't know advanced F2L, since that just means your solutions are going to be longer and harder to plan through. For this practice technique, you don't really want to be focusing on how long it takes you to do it. It's kind of like planning first pair when you first start. You don't want to be focusing on, oh, it's taking me 30 seconds, it's taking me a minute, it's taking me 2 minutes to plan first pair, when I'm supposed to be able to do this in inspection in less than 15 seconds. You want to be focusing on being able to do it right so that later you can speed it up and do it a lot faster and actually implement it in solves. While you don't really need to spend a lot of time doing this, since it can be really difficult and it can be kind of tiring for me, I find that my brain kind of doesn't like doing this for a long time. It is really easy to do in terms of you don't need a timer, all you need is a cube and you just solve cross and then you just plan pairs and you can just rinse and repeat and do this a bunch. And I find that it's not a huge hassle to set up, so you can do this for as long as you feel it. For this last method, it isn't really a practice method, and it's also not really something that you have to spend a lot of time on or do frequently, but it's just doing segmented solves. Obviously, this isn't something I came up with. I'm actually going to play right now what Brody says in his video on this, which is where I first heard about this.
So first, you're going to want to go to the settings on CS Timer and go to the timer page. Then, you should set the multi-phase to 4. This way, you can time yourself with each step instead of just timing an entire solve. What you should do is start a solve, and when you finish solving cross, press the spacebar. Then start doing F2L, and when you're done with that, press the spacebar again. Then do OLL and press the spacebar when you're done, and finally do PLL and then press the spacebar a final time.
But yeah, it's actually really easy to do this, and you can do splits in various ways depending on what you want to time. You can do cross plus F2L and then last layer, which is what I usually do, or you can do cross, then F2L, then last layer, which I don't really like doing because, of course, cross plus 1 I want to do as one whole thing. Or you can do cross, F2L, OLL, PLL, or just like any other combination. It's really easy to set up, and it's actually really helpful. Now, I wouldn't say this is a practice technique, mainly because you're not actually working on anything specific. It's just really good for gathering data on what you need to work on within a solve. And I use this sometimes just maybe once every few weeks or maybe once a month, and I just see, oh, my last layer still sucks, and I can just focus on that and work on that. So yeah, I've mainly been using these 3 techniques as well as just regular drilling of last layer algorithms to get my time down from like 11 or 13. That was like August to right now it's February and I average low 9. So it's been really helpful for me all this time. And none of these are techniques where you're gonna stop needing to do these or they're gonna not be helpful. So yeah, I just advise you do these occasionally. If you think that, oh, I'm gonna plateau or I feel like solving is kind of boring, you can just use these. They're all also just faster than doing regular solves except for the last one. So they don't take up a huge amount of time. And yeah, that's pretty much it.